morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Avery McCrae and here are today's top stories. The Lakehead Nurse Practitioner-led clinic is now offering COVID boosters to their patients in response to the provincial government, which is definitely good news for the community in need. Beginning with 50 people were able to come and get their shots on the inaugural day of the clinic. The clinic is initially being offered to the center's patients as it gives them ease of access, being able to get the vaccination at their own clinic. Shots will be given out every Saturday from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon going forward until there isn't a need to do so. The clinic's executive director, Pam Delgatti, says demand around the city for boosters is extremely high, with not enough space for everyone to get in, sometimes taking months for an appointment. Delgatti, though, is thankful for the more relaxed restrictions around setting up this clinic for vaccinations, as it's been rather helpful.
Pre-COVID, for anything to get done, it would take committees and meetings and decisions and take forever. And now we just have to respond in the moment. And I think this clinic and a lot of what we're seeing going on in Thunder Bay really shows that how people are really rising up to this challenge. And it's actually quite wonderful to see.
Delgatti believes these clinics may expand to all residents in the community, with the need for vaccination clinics growing higher every day. Well, now that 2021 has come and gone and the new year has arrived, we spoke to our local politicians to ask what goals they hope to achieve for the city and region in 2022.
Well, I think like everyone else, I'm looking forward to it being a much better and a safer year. Clearly, it's an election year, so I'll be looking forward to putting my name on the ballot one more time, and I'm hoping people will put their confidence in me again. But I think most of all, we need to focus on trying to get ourselves out of COVID, and that's going to be my focus in 2022.
Well, I think, the priority for the community often at the end of the day with municipalities, it's about taxation and services. I'd like to say that over the 3 years of our 3 budgets so far, we've done a really good job.
Well, my main goal is to continue to be, M.P.P. and do my best for this community, but obviously there's going to be an election. And so one of my goals is to get reelected.
Under the previous government, we got the Fort William First Nations chronic care home, I think to the 5-yard line, but we didn't get it over the goal line. So I want to complete that. It seems the funding's there. Hopefully we can finish that. I want to, and have been in communications with the people locally who are trying to get increased funding for treatment centers for substance abuse.
Well, as the Minister of Indigenous Services Canada and the Minister responsible for FedNor, I'm really looking forward to being able to deliver on the responsibilities that the Prime Minister has entrusted in me, both to better life for Indigenous people, more equity, more self-determination, more quickly, but also to strengthen and boost FedNor, which is now an independent agency.
The federal government says it's working on the request for military help for the Bearskin Lake First Nation.
It's an announcement which we hope comes true with action. And currently in Bearskin Lake First Nation, after speaking with leadership, we've had 210 cases as of today. So obviously the concern grows as the cases grow and the days go on. And as you stated earlier, there's been a call for the military, and we have yet to see them as of today, but we're hopeful that action is taken with respect to that call for action from the military.
The Northern Ontario community says it's almost at the breaking point with about half of residents testing positive for COVID-19. The community says it needs people to distribute essential supplies such as food, water, and wood for stoves. Fox says Northern Indigenous communities don't have the hospital infrastructure, and as cases grow, he fears for the potential loss of life. Cracks are beginning to show in the resiliency of hospitals and long-term care facilities in the region against the Omicron variant. In the Northwestern Health Unit's catchment area, cases of COVID have skyrocketed like they have here in Thunder Bay. And as the 2-year mark of the pandemic nears, staff burnout is beginning to take a serious grip. Ray Racette is the CEO for the Lake of the Woods District Hospital in Kenora. He says the facility had been able to maintain many of its services in light of staff shortages, which reached levels not seen in the last 25 years. But now, the balance between the number of staff and the ability to provide quality of care has been tilted.
Hitting a big peak at a time where we're tired and the lowest staff that we have been is, it really presents a big challenge for us as a hospital. And I think our staff have worked very hard to maintain our services. We do have some beds closed. We have 9 beds closed, and that's because we just don't have the staffing to open them.
On Friday, the hospital announced it would be halting all non-essential surgeries and procedures. Meanwhile, Riverside Healthcare announced in December that in order for it to maintain a level of care to residents at Rainy Crest Long-Term Care in Fort Frances, 42 beds would be temporarily closed, with the hope those beds could reopen sometime this year. The study into the possibility of an underground nuclear waste storage facility in the Ignace area recently passed another milestone with the completion of its borehole program. The drilling has been ongoing since 2017 and is comprised of 6 sites drilled down a kilometer below the surface of the earth. Thousands of samples of rock have been pulled and analyzed to see if the site would be viable for a nuclear repository. Adam Riley has the details.
For the last decade, the Nuclear Waste Management Organization has been investigating more than 20 potential sites to build an underground storage facility for Canada's spent nuclear material. But slowly over time, all but 2, Ignace and South Bruce, have been removed from contention. The agency is expected to make a final site selection for where the project will be built in 2023, with construction not slated to begin until the next decade. Now, with the completion of the borehole program, much of the Ignace-based project area will move into the labs for testing of the rock composition and studies on where or if underground water sources could be affected should the facility get the go-ahead. This is where NWMO section manager and hydrogeologist Alexander Blyth gets really excited.
That's what's going on right now is it's hydraulic testing. This is really key to our project. We want to make sure that ultimately our site is tight to water movement and that our fuel is safe against water getting into contact with our fuel.
But an issue has occurred which is both good and bad. In some sites, very little water has been discovered, which means the rock is tight, according to Blyth, and there is no water moving through any cracks or fissures in it, which is good. But he notes the lack of water poses a bit of a problem.
We also need some water to be able to prove how tight it is. And the chemistry, it's really, really important.
Blyth says there is still some work packages left to be done at the site, which includes capping off sections of borehole for further testing down the line. In addition to his work studying the site, he also makes time to provide information for people looking into details on the project.
I have done more even in the past, some in the earlier days when we used to do a lot of open houses. But tomorrow morning I've got a concerned member of the public that wants to come in and chat about the hydrogeology at this site.
But even with a shortening window of when to make a final decision and the borehole project still underway in the South Bruce region, Blyth is confident the analysis of Ignace will be completed before the 2023 deadline. Adam Riley, TBT News.
It was voted on and made official on paper last year, and now the signs have officially been changed as Colonization Road no longer exists in Fort Frances. The road signs for the former Colonization Road, east and west, began coming down and being replaced with a Gaming Drive and Sunset Drive signs this week. The initiative to rename the roadways was proposed by Councillor Douglas Judson in late 2020 and was passed by Council in May of last year. Judson says he has seen some of the new signs up in town and understands crews might have difficulty working with metal in minus 20-degree weather. He considers this a watershed moment for the community and believes it was one of the most noticeable issues Council has managed this term.
It has been, I think, a further validation that our community was ready for this and wanted this to happen, and sees a more inclusive place for Indigenous identity and Indigenous citizens in the town of Fort Frances. Because when I talk to people who are directly impacted by, the administrative changes that they have to make at the bank or with their driver's license, there's a lot of enthusiasm for it.
Judson admits there is still a lot of work to be done to better understand the local history of colonization, the role systematic racism has played in the region, and do a better job to lift up Indigenous voices. But he believes Fort Frances is moving in the right direction. While the United Commercial Travelers of Thunder Bay gave out $9,000 in funds today to local charities. The $9,000 raised through UTC fundraisers was split between the organizations, with $3,000 being given out to the Boys and Girls Clubs, who will use their funds for future programs. $3,000 as well to the Precious Bundle Children's Clothing Assistance Program to help with purchasing clothing that can't usually be donated, and the Due Drop In to help with food after record-breaking year. UCT Local 1039 Thunder Bay President Kathy Nevela says it's been a harder year for fundraising due to the pandemic, but was happy to be able to give these 3 organizations some support.
So we've supported the Boys and Girls Club and Dew Drop for many years. Precious Bundles, it's been a couple. So we really enjoy doing it, and it helps the community.
We are a true nonprofit. We get no funding from any level of government. So things like this are very, very, very important.
And basically, we depend on the support of wonderful organizations like them and the community to feed the hungry in Thunder Bay.
When an organization that's so great at fundraising comes to us and offers us funds, we're just so very grateful.
Even though $9,000 was given out today, the UTC has given out $19,000 in total since 2021. Well, we're joined now by sports anchor Kurt Black. Kurt, it is fantastic to see you. Let me just say that first and foremost.
Thank you, Avery.
What is not fantastic is we were supposed to have 6 Canadian teams on the ice tonight, but now there's only just one going to play.
But it's quite a tilt, Avery.
Yes.
We got the Avs, we got the Leafs out in Denver, 2 of the best teams. The Leafs, they are missing a certain superstar, so we'll play who's in and who's out of COVID protocol right after the break.